It's my absolute pleasure today to welcome Andrew Morello, winner of the first Australian Apprentice and Business Development Manager at Yellow Brick Road, and of course, an amazing Weight Loss Solutions Australia success story. Andrew, welcome to the Gold Coast.
Thanks, Felicity. Great to be here again. Always love being on the Gold Coast with you guys.
Thank you. We were talking a little bit earlier about everybody having a story and a background to what takes them to becoming a patient when they first walk through our doors.
Yes.
For you, what was that first thing for you that you remember, or that recognition that there was an issue for you? Was it connected to family?
Yeah. Felicity, it's a great question because obviously, growing up and always fighting with, being overweight and obviously getting to a point of being obese and so forth, where, constantly you're being reminded by and being pulled from different ways. Like, you've got this world that you live in where everybody's eating and drinking and having a good time. You're just trying to be, have fun with everybody. But at the same time, you want to live forever and you're working so hard so you can live forever. So I think the big thing was, and the biggest challenge for me would have been, obviously the culture I grew up in. I grew up in an Italian culture, and there is a culture of eating. And when then you move into the corporate sector, and you're working, 5, 6, 7 days a week sometimes, to balance that can become a massive challenge. So that's when I sort of recognised for me that I needed to make some serious change. And, not that I'm telling anyone that they're too old to do it, but I was young enough to make that change and make it a lasting change and break the mould.
In my experience, it's actually unusual to have someone as young as you recognise the need.
Yes.
We see patients who are typically so much older and suffering so much more from medical complications.
Yes.
For you, at age 28, when I first met you,
Yep.
I guess you were pretty much, for me, a ticking time bomb. You were 173 centimetres tall,
Yep.
and you weighed 173 kilos. So
Yeah.
as wide as you were tall,
Yeah.
and so successful with this incredible personality. But for me, I saw the health risk in you.
Yes.
What did that mean for you at that point in time when you decided to make a decision? Did you consider the health risks for your future?
You make a valid point, because obviously when you're young you think you're invincible, so often you don't consider it when you're quite young. But I always had this vision of being retired young, and and I have this vision, as you know, of having lots of children and so forth. And I think that probably was the wake up call for me, that I realised that, okay, well, if you go and be successful in business, it can be all good and great, but if I'm not going to live long enough to enjoy it, and I won't be able to enjoy my children and things of that nature. So I probably realised it earlier than most would, and I was lucky enough not to have any illnesses or ailments at that stage of my life, which is, for me, probably that's the real wake up call. Like, if anyone's watching this, I think that's when you should do it. Like, I think, why do you wait till something goes wrong before you take action? And I couldn't honestly get up on stage in front of people and mentor them and coach them about how they should take action in their business if I wasn't prepared to take action in the other parts of my life that I was struggling with.
How has your weight loss and your decision to go through having the sleeve gastrectomy impacted your own family and your relationship with your family?
Look, my mother, I love her to death. She was been the matriarch of our family, but obviously they came from a culture and a period of time where love was shown through, filling the table full of food. And obviously they came from a war-torn country, so you don't leave food on the table because there's people in developing nations that will never get to eat this sort of food or this amount of food in their life. So probably the challenge we had was re-educating the family around what I was able to eat, but at the same time, and I mentioned to you earlier, that I think it's broken that culture a little bit, and I look forward to I grew up watching my father and my mother and my uncles and my cousins have these big feasts, but now the day I get married and have children will probably mean that because I don't have that culture of overeating, that my kids won't subconsciously be infected by that culture. So I don't think my parents did it on purpose. I think it's just that's the Italian culture that we were brought up in. But I wanted to break that, and from a family point of view, and from the family that I want to build one day, I wanted to make sure I can be that great role model for those children.
We often see that morbid obesity and discussing or approaching someone to talk about having this life-saving surgery is a taboo subject. Do you still feel that that's true? Is it appropriate to actually, if you've got a friend or a family member who you feel you can impact their lives, is it appropriate to have that conversation?
Look, I think it is. I think any conversation's relevant to happen. I think the biggest trouble we have with human beings is that we're bad communicators, even though we built wrote the book on communication. So I say to people, it's all about the time and place, and I think, and it needs to come from heart. So I think, I've had the conversation with a number of friends or business people that I've spoken to now, and I think as well they've seen the results with me, so I can see their minds starting to tick over, going, maybe this is a good option for myself or for a family member for them. So I think it's a new world now, as long as you do it from a place from heart, and I think you do it in the right place. I think. I remember growing up, people would, very rudely, like you'd be at a dinner with 10 people and someone would be like, oh, do you think you should be eating that in front of other people? I'm like, that's a bit rude, and made you feel embarrassed and made everyone else feel embarrassed about that person. And obviously it was the sort of personality type where probably they don't really care what they say, but that's the way they operated. I don't hold that against them. They probably had good intentions, but it probably wasn't the right time and place to have that discussion. So they're probably the two tips that I give people if they want to broach that conversation with family. But I think people are open-minded to it now as well. Like, I think we live in a new world. As we mentioned before, there's a massive amount of education, and WLSA provides, if anyone who wants to ask a question, they can. There's no obligation for anything further on from asking questions. So I think as long as you continue to foster that environment, I think as the industry continues to be more recognised and we continue to see great results, we realise that it's a good option.
What are some of the key things for you that you've seen change? I know one of them is around travel. How's that changed for you?
Yep, so obviously you knew that when we first met I was doing 150 flights a year, so obviously I always dreaded, I'm on a flight at 6 a.m. most mornings, and I always dreaded the fact that you get to your seat and you're on the window and you're the last person to arrive, and then you got to shuffle in through everyone and get in the spot. Then I used to have to always ask for the extension piece, which was a process. Sometimes the air host would forget. They'd be like, no worries, so we'll bring it back to you in a moment. Then they would forget, and then you have to do the embarrassing thing about asking for it again. Then everyone's seated, then they would bring it to you finally. So that was obviously, because I travelled literally every second day, that was like a reminder every second day. That's probably was one of the major catalysts for me, because if you talk about triggers, that was a psychological trigger. Now, I'm a very confident person, but for somebody who probably didn't have the confidence or didn't have the self-belief that they had, that would be quite a diminishing process, psychologically, to go through that as often as I was anyway, or as often as they would need to. Even if they're just going on a family holiday once or twice a year and having to go through that process can be probably heartbreaking for some people.
Even more than just heartbreaking, for some people it becomes prohibitive.
Yes.
Because they're not prepared to put themselves out there.
Yes.
So those changes are really dramatic.
Yes.
The other thing that you're doing this year that I think is absolutely incredible is that you've taken on board the Kokoda challenge.
I have.
96 kilometres on the 19th of September.
Yes, that's correct.
Tell me about your training regime.
Yeah, so I've been pretty blessed. I'm doing it with some Special Forces guys. We're doing it for Indigenous education in Australia. We're looking to raise $500,000. And I think it was something I always wanted to do, and having the surgery and then the backup support with the psychologists and the dietitians to have a great better eating habits now and something to refer back to, and then supplementing it with a great training regime. I just got back from a retreat in Thailand where I trained there. We're in Bali for a bit as well, so we trained there too. And then now at Bondi, I feel really confident getting out on the beach and going for walks, and I've done some sessions with some ex-Israeli Special Forces guys, they're called Masood. So, and I would never have ever even contemplated doing anything with them before, but now I get to do everything, which is fantastic. And, I think that will be a real culmination for this whole journey. Like, by that point, September 19, I'll have probably be at my 12 to 14 month anniversary, and, I'll have lost 60 plus kilos, and I'll be, going through the 96 kilometres through the Papua New Guinean jungle to raise money for Indigenous education.
That's going to be an incredible achievement, and I think will bring enormous satisfaction for you personally. So yeah, congratulations for taking that on board.
Thank you.
If you could describe for me just in one word, what took you to having bariatric surgery?
Yep.
One word.
I don't know, maybe liberation, effectively. Like, you're liberating yourself from these chains or these things that are holding you back. Your weight holds you back for a lot of things. So yeah, liberation, I think that's, if somebody had to put it down in one word, I feel like, literally I'm taking a big, camping backpack off my back, and I can, it's like I'm doing Kokoda but without the backpack. So it's kind of, it's fantastic and very liberating.
Okay, one of the things that's really important when you come through the journey with Weight Loss Solutions Australia is the support team that we have here.
Fantastic team.
It's something that we drive home every single day. It's one of the most critical factors for us, that we want people to accept and to understand the value of working with a team.
Yes.
Tell me a little bit about your experience, first of all, with the dietitian.
Well, I've got some great little anecdotal stories that I think might be, and they're a little bit comical as well. So the two that I've worked very closely with are the psychologist and the dietitian, which have been absolutely amazing. So every once or twice a month having a chat and so forth. But the psychologist asked me initially, what have I missed? Like, do you have any things that you feel like you're missing out on? And it was quite funny because I said to her, probably the biggest challenge for me was, and a lot of people that know who I am or what I do, is I was renowned for the long lunch. So, going to Rockpool or going to a nice restaurant and, you eat, the first course, second course, third course, then wine, and then you wait, and then you have another course later on at 4 o'clock in the afternoon, then head to another, food place and eat more food. And the funny part was, I recognised that it was probably one of the only major challenges that I had that I probably missed that a little bit. And then when I spoke to the psychologist again next time, she goes, she brought it up with me, and she's like, have you overcome it? And I said, well, I'm all about turning, adversity into opportunity. And, we all get food envy, effectively. So once upon a time I used to eat, but you would order your own entree, your own main, and your own dessert or your own whatever. And I'd say, look, you'd see somebody else's meal come out, and I'd get upset. I'd be like, I should have ordered the pasta, or I should have ordered the meat. It looks so much better. So what I do now is I just tell people. I go to a business lunch. I tell the people, and I go, I've had, the gastric sleeve, and, I've changed the way that I'm eating, and I'm changed my diet and so forth. So what I'm going to do is I'm just going to get a plate, and you're all going to give me, you're going to cut one little bit, if you're comfortable with doing this, one little bit off, and you're going to put on the plate. So now I actually get to try everybody's food. It's like I'm doing degustation every single time. So it's a little bit of fun, and, I think you got to have a bit of fun with it, and, and it's a great way for me to share my story with people, and it's a great way for them to feel comfortable to ask me questions as well. So it's good. It's a bit of fun.
What's life like now after one drink? What's Andrew Morello like after one drink now?
Yeah. It's interesting because now it's, it takes a lot less food, a lot less alcohol, a lot less everything. But look, the good news is, anyone watching this is, there's nothing I can't eat or drink. I know when people do their research, they say your palate is going to change, or there might be some things that don't agree with you. There's literally not been, and this is my personal experience obviously, but there's literally not been one thing that I haven't been able to at least try. So if somebody goes to me, oh look, do you want to try this? I'm like, yeah, well, let's try it. I can still have try a drink, try a particular meal, try a piece of food, or I do a lot of traveling internationally, so I always love to try different things. And that's been the most exciting bit for me, that I haven't really missed out on anything. It was some short-term, few months of rebuilding that stomach that I worked with the dietitian on, to a point now that I can try everything again. It's fantastic.
Your experience with the dietitian, a lot of people have this fear of the dietitian, that they're going to be meeting with the food police.
Yes.
What do you think, and how's that looked for you?
No, not at all. So especially the dietitians at WLSA, they've been really supportive on the understanding that I do come from a culture and a business world where I am entertaining a lot. So instead of sitting there and telling me that I can't do this, can't do that, just helping me to make better decisions. And probably before the surgery, I probably would have elected for fast food, but now, prime example, I was walking through the airport 2 days ago, and I grabbed the salad instead of the burger, because the burger wouldn't fit anymore anyway. And the salad, I can eat a little bit of it, put it away, put it in the fridge, eat a little bit more. it's become very cost effective, which is fantastic. But at the same time, I still enjoy everything. I still enjoy the food that I want to eat, and it's kind of good because my mate will get the burger and I say, just cut me a little bit off so I can try a little bit of it. So it's all a bit of fun, which is good.
Tell me some of the funny things that you've encountered along the way in terms of people not recognising you, seeing you as someone different, funny comments. What's happened along the journey for you?
Well, it's quite ironic because obviously I'm in and out of airports all the time. So like people aren't sure if it's me. So like a guy came up to me in the airport the other day and he's like, he walked past me and he's come back and he's gone, wait, is that Morello? And I've gone, yeah, it is. And he's like, my God, like you look completely different. Now he'd only known me as you know, morbidly obese and extremely overweight, like at 173 kilos. But then the opposites happen, and there's a photo, which you know that I keep on my phone, which was like, in my opinion, probably the happiest period of my life. And what's been happening is whenever I post something on a social media, you know, on one of the social media mediums, all the guys text me back photos of me back in the day with them. And they're like, you look like you're 21 again. And they're like, that was not a good period of time because you were running amok when you were 21. And I said, yeah. And they go, are we going back to those days? I said, maybe a little bit. So we're off to Los Angeles next week and we're off to a festival over there called Coachella, and we're going to do some business over there as well. That's 250,000 people in the middle of Palm Springs. So we'll see if anyone recognises me there, and hopefully not.
I think it's amazing that, you know, not only has 57 kilos at 9 months taken, you know, years off the way you look.
Yes.
Because you look so much younger.
Yes.
But the reality is it's added years to your whole life.
Definitely. Very exciting.
Yeah.
I don't know what I'm going to do with all those years now, you know, so that's the, I've just got to make some more money to retire at a later age so I can live my what do they call those years? My golden years for longer now. So I'm looking forward to a longer golden year period, which will be good.
Is there one person in your memory so far who's been a really annoying person on your journey?
It would definitely be my tailor. I I do some work with the guys from Oscar Hunt, and also whenever I go do work overseas, I've got a couple of tailors there. And the funny thing was, like, my tailor that does just some quick alterations for me. It's my sister's wedding this weekend, and I got this great suit made for just one of the cheap suits, and not the Oscar Hunt one, but one of the cheap ones for $270 in Phuket in January. Right, so we're talking April now, so we're talking a couple of months. So I got it at the end of January. I get it back, I wear it once, like at the start of Feb, and then my sister goes to me, oh, make sure you wear your grey suit. She's like, make sure, I saw you in the grey suit. This is the only grey suit I own is this one that I got from Thailand. It's a beautiful suit that I got made, but it cost me $270. Anyway, I went to the tailor the other day and I said to mate, you know, and he goes, look, do you want me to do just to fix it, or do you want it to look good? I said, I want it to look good. And he goes to me, I go, because it's for my sister's wedding. I say, if I rock up, I'm the MC. If I don't look good, my sister's going to send me home. She'll send me home to go get changed. Everything's got to be perfect for a wedding. Anyway, he gives me the receipt to pick up the suit. So I want to make that up there. So you can read that there. How much is it costing the alterations?
$225.
So the alterations are costing $225 on a $250 suit, $270 suit, and I had to go at him. Like, I'm like, as if I'm going to pay $225 to get a suit altered where I've only worn it once. And he goes to me, well, you know, it's just what it is. And I said, but he obviously, so he had to go at me, I had to go at him, and now it's an ongoing feud, but that's okay. It's a good problem to have, that I got to keep getting new suits and new shirts and new shopping. And I'm looking forward to actually going to America next week, because I don't know if you know, if anyone's ever shopped in America, but the only thing I really enjoyed about shopping in America is even when I was like 160, 170 kilos, I could find clothes that fit me, because they're so, like, everyone's overweight there. So like, I remember walking into Ralph Lauren at 138 kilos. And I remember I was with an ex-girlfriend at the time, and she goes, oh, let's go to Ralph Lauren. And I said, the clearance store, they had this massive clearance store. I said, babe, I don't want to go to Ralph Lauren. I don't fit into any of the clothes. She goes, let's just go in there. And I walked in, and there was this sky blue woolen jumper, and I loved it. She loved it. And I walked up to the guy, and I said, and it was on, you know, it was their clearance store. And I said to the guy, oh, you know, do you reckon you'll have my size? He looks at me and goes, yeah, you'll be a medium. And I went, what do you mean I'll be a medium? He goes, they're American sizes. Americans have just got such big sizes. So I'm looking forward next week because you can do some phenomenal shopping over there. So I know I'm not completely, I haven't lost all the weight that I'm going to lose, but I've lost a lot. So at least now I have lots of options with the clothes I'm going to buy. I'm taking a little budget with me. I'm going to go to all the Ralph Lauren outlet stores and the Armani outlets, all the outlet stores they've got in America, and I'm going to go crazy and enjoy, go on a little bit of a shopping spree, have a bit of fun with it.
If there's one thing that you could share from your journey to inspire others who are still on that verge of thinking, maybe I could be doing something to improve my health and my life, what advice would you give them?
I think, you know, often people I speak to that are going through, you know, contemplating going through, you know, gastric sleeve surgery or any sort of weight loss management or weight loss solution, they've been looking at it for a while. And I would argue to them that, you know, more is lost with indecision than wrong decision. So I think, you know, don't be afraid, pick up the phone, have a chat to the team at WLSA. They'll answer any of your questions, and like, the longer you wait, the less of a life that you're going to live. So don't be afraid of making that decision. Step up to the plate and at least make the phone call, and the rest can fall into place.
Fantastic. I think your story is really indicative of, you know, just a perfect journey.
Yes,
I really think it has been a perfect journey, and I'm so impressed with your weight loss.
Yes.
One of the things that I noticed today was hugging Andrew has really changed. You know, when I first put my arms around him 9 months ago, it felt so weird today. And I love that you actually sense that this person has shrunk so much, but what that means is just so many wonderful things. It's been a beautiful journey so far, and I personally can't wait to share the ongoing story with you, and thank you so much for being here.
My pleasure. Thanks, Felicity. Thanks, everyone.
If you'd like to follow more of Andrew Morello's story, please visit Weight Loss Solutions Australia at wlsa.com.au.